And it's going to start with one of our agenda items tonight, where we're going to be executing the special town meeting warrant. The town meeting is slated to be November 15th, but the warrant is going to have 34 warrant articles, which is the most, certainly since I've been involved in town government, which is since the turn of the century. And so this is going to be a full,
fall town meeting.
Yeah, for fall town meeting. Just the logistics of scheduling all the public hearings that we're going to have to hold is going to be quite challenging. We're going to be having some late nights. We were talking about adding a meeting on a Thursday. So once we firm that up, we'll announce it. But it's going to be quite a challenge. And I know the advisory committee is going through the same kind of calculation, trying to figure out how to get it done. So we'll get it done. And then another a series of events coming up. Most significantly is the deliberations of both this board and the school committee on the location of the 9th school. And in this room, coming this Thursday, is going to be the final presentation of the site study by Jonathan Levy Architects, and they are looking at 3 sites. One is the Baldwin School. Second is a site on Beverly Road next to the Baker School, and a third is the Harvard Street, the Stop and Shop site. So that should be a very interesting meeting, starting here at 7 o'clock, and it's a joint meeting of the Selectmen and the school committee. And then there's going to be a series of meetings where we'll be taking comment from the public. There's going to be 2 open houses, and I should have the dates. There's going to be a public hearing in this room on September 22nd.
I think September 14th, Wednesday at 8 a.m. was an open house
at the Baker School, right?
And Wednesday, September 28th, from 6:30 to 8 p.m. is another open house right across the way at the Pierce School.
Right, and then on September 22nd at 7 o'clock in this room, we'll have a public hearing. And then leading up to the decision meeting, which will be on October 13th, Thursday, starting at 8 p.m. at the high school. So we're on the path to actually making our siting decision. This is a process that I personally have been involved in for the last 3.5 years, just about, being on the original B-Space committee. So that'll be an exciting moment for me personally and for the community. And then we have community choice aggregation is moving forward.
That's correct, it is.
And there's a public hearing at the Massachusetts Department of Public Utilities on Wednesday, September 14th at 2 p.m. at their offices at 1 South Station, 5th floor. And anyone who's interested can make comments to them either in writing or in person. And September 18th is that's Sunday, September 18th, from 11 to 4 is the 5th annual Brookline Day. And
Wait, what date was that?
that's September 18th. And food, music, local businesses, and this is at Lars Anderson Park. I've been there every year. It's a lot of fun. It's a great day for the community.
We should note that there's a road race earlier in the morning. I think it's a 9 a.m. start time, so events the entire day long.
And last but not least on my list is a grand opening celebration for the new driving range at the Municipal Golf Course this coming Saturday from 12 to 4. And there's food and beverages and some club manufacturers, Titleist, Callaway, and U.S. Kids Golf will be on site for complimentary demo day and club fittings. Selectman Franco.
I had one announcement. Believe it or not, Thursday there is an election, a bit of a sleeper of an election. There aren't many contested races here in Brookline, but it is the primary for state elections that will be held in November, and an opportunity to vote on representative in Congress, state representative, state senator, governor's counselor, and some other county offices, I believe. Polls are open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m., again, this Thursday, September 8th. And we should note that the voting that formerly took place at the Devotion School, that's Precinct 9, has been moved to 8, correct, has been moved to Young Israel on Green Street for the foreseeable future.
Any other announcements?
No, I just want to remind people, I think the farmer's market is continuing on through September on Thursday afternoons at the Center Street parking lot.
Okay. Now let's get into our calendar. First item is approving the minutes of August 16th. Okay, public comment, okay.
You're supposed to sign up in advance.
No, not in
No?
advance, supposed to sign up.
Oh, okay.
Ms. Frawley.
Yes.
Public comment.
Mr. Wyszynski. Let me throw in that our senior socials are starting on September 23rd. They're on Fridays, 6 consecutive Fridays. It starts with a cookout provided by the Recreation Department, and they're always a lot of fun. And there's a possibility that the gloriously renewed park next to the library, which is considered a quiet reading park only, is now going to be handicap accessible. So it's very possible that the tables will be out there, and there's still a chance that the weather will be nice and we could actually eat outdoors, but we'll see. But it's always been a fun thing, and it's going to be followed by yoga. On that first day, Alan Balsam, our health director, is coming with his guitar. So we're having a cookout and Alan Balsam. And then we're ending in October, late October, with a free lunch by our state rep. So if you have constituents, if you have a listserv that you can notify some of your seniors, we call it the South Brookline Senior Social, but they're welcome from wherever they are in Brookline. We'd love to have them join us. We have a really nice group. But we also have a new thing. Helen Samard, the wife of the former chief of police, has requested a game day for seniors. So on the 22nd of September, which is a Thursday, between 1 and 3, the Senior Center has provided us, Ruth Ann Dobek, with 3 card tables. Helen came and looked at the tables we had and said, no, that's not okay for Mahjong. So the Senior Center has provided 3 tables that will be apparently okay for Mahjong and perhaps something else. But we'll also have the longer tables for dominoes, should you wish to do that, and chess, whatever. Do plan to come, because that for some reason didn't make it in the senior bulletin for September, so a lot of people don't know about it. I'd appreciate it if you spread the word for that.
Okay.
So thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Then we'll move on. The August 16th minutes seems so far away.
I had a small tweak as well.
And I know Selectman Green had some changes. I will move that we approve the minutes as amended. All those in favor, please say aye. Selectman Daley?
Aye.
Selectman Franco?
Aye.
Selectman Heller?
Aye.
Selectman Green?
Aye.
Chair votes aye.
I did talk ran into Erin Galantine on my way in, and she was going to be at another meeting and
Right,
asked
so
us to
we'll,
hold her items until
and that's
a
what
little
we
bit
will-
later.
That's what we will do. So we're going to go to item D, a question of accepting a grant in the amount of $4,984.80 from the Massachusetts Emergency Management Agency to be used for community emergency response training.
Good
Chief
evening.
O'Leary, welcome.
Thank you. Good to be here. I appearing in front of you tonight to see if you'll accept this grant. This is a grant we've been fortunate enough to get each year for the past 4 or 5 years. And what we plan on doing at this time, and I know that Officer Casey Hatchett has already put out some feelers on Twitter and on our Facebook page about any members of the community that want to volunteer to be members of our CERT team. We will be kicking off a training class with these funds, which we hope to train an additional group of residents of the town to help us in case of an emergency. This is an example of some of the work that gets done when we had the recent water leak down at 61 Park Street. We had actually activated 2 of our officers, Casey Hatchett and Sergeant Mike Raskin, to go down there and assess the situation to see if we had to open up a shelter to get the people out of 61 Park. Fortunately, it was a housing unit. They found out we only had to displace maybe 2 or 3 families. 2 of them stayed with relatives, and a 3rd one was put up at the Holiday Inn at the housing expense. So we didn't have to activate CERT, but they were on standby in case we had to bring them out. So those are the things that we use them for. We have about 150 or 125 active CERT members in town now, and we hope to build on that with these funds.
Okay, any questions, comments, discussion? Selectman Daley?
No, I just want to say, I'm once again grateful to your department for always seeking all these grants, and you do a good job bringing in the money for extra training and things. So
Thank you.
Okay, I'll move that we accept the grant in the amount of $4,984.80 from the Massachusetts Emergency Management Agency to be used for Community Emergency Response CERT training. All those in favor, please say aye. Selectman Daley?
Aye.
Selectman Franco?
Aye.
Selectman Heller?
Aye.
Selectman Green?
Aye.
Chair votes aye.
Thanks.
Thank you. Next item is the question of approving an extra work order in the amount of $29,730 pursuant to a DPW contract with Mario Susi and Son for the repair of bituminous concrete patches. Mr. Ditto.
Good evening. The school department asked us to repave the Lower School Devotion. So this is the vehicle we used to get that work done. Mario Susi is the contractor that has been doing our street patching for the last several years. He was asked to give us a quote on this work. It involved removing the existing bituminous concrete pavement, resurfacing what was left, and then also constructing a ramp that goes out to Marion Street.
Any questions or comments? Yeah.
Yeah, just a quick question. Is this because it's not a large amount that you didn't have to go out to get bids?
This
Yes.
contract's already in place.
Oh, I see. So
So we're
this is
just
like considered an add-on to the, okay.
Correct.
Okay, I'll move that we approve the extra work order number 1 in the amount of $29,730.21 with Mario Susi and Son, general contractor, for the repair of bituminous concrete patches. All those in favor, please say aye. Selectman Daley?
Aye.
Selectman Franco?
Aye.
Selectman Heller? Aye. Selectman Green?
Aye.
Chair votes aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we have one temporary all kinds alcoholic beverage license for Pine Manor College. I've reviewed the application. Looks in order. The police department has approved it. So I'll move that we grant the temporary all kinds alcoholic beverage license to Pine Manor College in connection with a wedding to be held on October 22nd from 6 to 11 p.m. at 400 Heath Street. All those in favor, please say aye. Selectman Daley?
Aye.
Selectman Franco?
Aye.
Selectman Heller?
Aye.
Selectman Green?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. held 2 items from the miscellaneous calendar, and we'll move on to our regular calendar until Ms. Galantine can get up here. So the first item is the BAA Half Marathon application for a special permit. Mr. Flannery, Director of Race Operations for the BAA, will appear to request a special use permit in connection with the BAA Annual Half Marathon to be held on Sunday, October 9th.
Thank
Welcome.
you very much. Thanks. Glad to be back again. I can't believe it's already been a year since the last one. So it's our last event for 2016. It's our last event for the distance medley. As you can imagine, we've already started working up towards the 2017 Boston Marathon, but in the interim, we have the 2016 BA Half Marathon, like you said, to be held on October 9th out in Franklin Park. So I just want to thank you for the opportunity to ask for the permission for the permit. And for all intents and purposes, the event has not changed significantly since its inception in 2001. So this will be our 16th annual BA Half Marathon. The 13.1 mile course goes through the Emerald Necklace. It starts and finishes at Franklin Park. It starts on the Playstead area of Franklin Park and finishes in White Stadium. The start time will be 7:50 for the wheelchairs. And right now we have 4 wheelchair participants, 8 o'clock for the other 9,000 participants. We will do kind of a wave or a pulse start for this year. So we expect to have everyone out on the course across the start line no later than 8:15. The time limit is 3 hours. We've made sure that our participants know that they have 3 hours, and the reason we do that is so that we can open the roadway systems back up to the residents of both Boston and Brookline. Some construction concerns over at Casey. Last year we had to really work with MassDOT, and we had a traffic management study. Had a meeting this morning with MassDOT, and basically the report is the same. There's not been a lot of updates with the roadway system, so we will have detours in place.
That's over down by Forest Hills, the Arborway, what was the Arborway.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But so we did have some detours last year, and we had a lot of community outreach to the residents in that area, and so we'll do the same thing again this year, making sure that everyone understands when the roadways will be impacted and trying to lessen anybody's aggravation or impediments to get to where they're going on that holiday weekend. The overall time frame of the event is going to be from 8 to 11 a.m. For Brookline, we're looking at the area between the 4.5 mile point to the 6.5 mile point. We'll have a water station and a medical station right there near Leverett Pond Road. So we do really express our sincere gratitude towards to Brookline and the Department of Public Works, and also Chief O'Leary and the police. Their support is fabulous every single year, so we couldn't ask for anything better. So with that, we request permission for a parade permit.
So in Brookline, the impacted roadways are basically Pond Avenue and Chestnut Street over by Olmsted Park.
Correct.
So it's a pretty limited impact on Brookline over by my house.
I remember maybe not so fondly last year that this was bumping up right against the time we were going to take down our overpass
Right.
on Boylston Street. So if we could manage it last year and it went smoothly, I think we're fully capable of navigating this holiday weekend and this road race this year.
Any questions or comments, concerns? Okay. Therefore, I'll move that we grant the special use permit in connection with the Boston Athletic Association annual half marathon to be held on Sunday, October 9th, 2016. All those in favor, please say aye. Selectman Daley?
Aye.
Selectman Franco?
Aye.
Selectman Heller?
Aye.
Selectman Green?
Aye.
Chair votes aye.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. Good luck.
Aaron's here.
Right. We're going to go back to the held items from our miscellaneous calendar. The first one is the question of accepting a donation in the amount of $10,000 from Mrs. Peter B. Coffin to be used for the development of a master planting plan for Dane Park on behalf of the Department of Public Works, Parks and Open Space Division. Ms. Galantine, welcome.
Good evening. Erin Galantine, Director of Parks and Open Space. First, I'd like to thank you for holding my couple items. I have another meeting running simultaneously, so had to get our design review committee meeting for Emerson Garden underway. So now that that's going, I'll give you these couple items and then go back down to continue. So I'm really pleased to ask that the Board of Selectmen accept a donation from Abby Coffin. She is the president of the Friends of Dane Park. We have worked with her for over 15 years. We worked with her on the initial renovation of Dane Park, which was including accessible paths, some new plantings, some seating, but there's a lot of work that remains to be done in invasive removal and replacement planting. And she has offered to pay for the planning to create that master planting plan that then we can work off of for the next 10 years as we remove invasive vegetation and replant. So it's incredibly generous. I think it attests to her confidence in our ability and our partnership, and something that we're eager to work on with Ms. Coffin and the Friends of Dane Park.
Wow.
This is a very significant contribution, and I think it's a wonderful thing for the Mrs. Coffin to do. $10,000 is a lot of money, but I know it will be put to good use, and I hope the park will be a showplace when you're done with this.
I'll second Selectman Daley's comments. This is a generous donation, and Dane Park is one of the hidden gems in town. I've got an old publication of the Chestnut Hill Garden Club that features a couple of walks in Dane Park, and I was fortunate enough to stumble upon one of those walks just a couple of weeks ago. So I'm excited by the prospect of a master plan here and seeing some significant improvements to Dane Park.
Ditto. Anyone else? Okay, I'll move that we accept the donation in the amount of $10,000 from Mrs. Peter B. Coffin to be used for the development of a master planting plan for Dane Park on behalf of the Department of Public Works, Parks and Open Space Division. All those in favor, please say aye. Selectman Daley?
Aye.
Selectman Franco?
Aye.
Selectman Heller?
Aye.
Selectman Green?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Next item is the question of transferring ownership of a 1988 gas-powered Model 520 Zamboni from the Massachusetts Department of Conservation and Recreation inventory to the town of Brookline. Ms.
So
Galantine.
this is another terrific opportunity. We have a great partnership with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. We are partners in the Muddy River Restoration Project in Lost Pond, our parkways through the community, and we have a maintenance use agreement, for example, up at Skyline Park. A portion of that land, as it goes back towards Lost Pond, is owned by the Commonwealth. And this past year, we had a total failure of the transmission of our Zamboni. And when I reached out to DCR and said, do you have any equipment that we can borrow for a portion of the season? We have this 3-month window, and is there a way that we might be able to arrange something? They were terrific, and so they allowed us to borrow this piece of equipment for the season. We had our fleet staff go over, work with their fleet manager so that they understood the condition of the Zamboni, the proper kind of operation and maintenance of it. We had a terrific season, and we have our new Zamboni that it arrived in July. So we're looking forward to putting that on the ice. But it's critical that you always have a backup piece of equipment, because there are so many moving parts that no matter what, the equipment will require maintenance through the season. And so having that backup piece of equipment is critical. So right now what we have as backup is an Olympia, which is also a very old piece of equipment. But actually having a Zamboni means that we'll have the same blades, the same system, the same engine. So there's a lot of efficiency, and it's a more reliable piece of equipment. And we've already tested it now for a season. So this is no cost to the town. It's something that's surplus to DCR. They're no longer using This particular model, they're outsourcing much of their maintenance, and they no longer are using the gas-powered for their indoor rinks, that they're managing some of those themselves.
So I have a question. What is the lifespan of these things?
Well, the last one we really held on to for a long time. I want to say we had it for 30 years. But with your outdoor rinks, you're looking at 15 to 20, realistically.
So this is
This
getting
one's
to the
almost 30 years old.
20,
It is.
It's still
but
working.
with
I
good
guess.
maintenance, it's spare, it's backup, and it's something that if we needed to take ours out of commission for a day, we would have something there that we could operate.
It starts.
It starts, absolutely.
Okay. I will move that we accept accept the transferring of ownership of the 1988 gas-powered Model 520 Zamboni from Mass DCR to the town of Brookline for use by the Department of Public Works. All those in favor, please say aye. Selectman Daley?
Aye.
Selectman Franco?
Aye.
Selectman Heller?
Aye.
Selectman Green?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye.
Great, thank you.
Yep. Okay, next item is the question of authorizing the filling of firefighter vacancies. I understand Deputy Chief Sullivan is here. Tell us what's going on. Welcome.
Good evening. Acting Chief of Operations Mike Sullivan. We've had a request that we fill the 10 vacancies that we have in the fire department now, get permission to start the process in civil service. We have 10 vacancies now, and we foresee some more coming in the future.
Sure.
So I think I saw something in here that, are you going to be in charge of this round of hiring? Because I understand that potentially Chief Ward's son might be one of the applicants?
Yes, that is correct.
So he's going to stay out of this whole thing and,
I'm going to run the process, yes.
okay, good.
how long do you expect it to take?
We're hoping the process will be done and we'll have them in our training facility by the spring, and they'll be ready to be in a group by the summer vacation period.
Wow, it takes that long.
Yes,
Wow.
it's a very long process. That's why we'd like to start it now.
Yeah, Selectman Green.
Civil service requirements are typically an impediment to a diverse hiring pool in many situations. And I don't claim to be an expert in this, but I understand that there are ways that people have found to not so much work around the civil service as to address the impediments that civil service puts in the way of diversity in a hiring pool through various means. Have you given any thought to or any plans to use such procedures or steps?
I believe we're going to call for the list out of civil service, and they will give us a list of the residents, and I believe that there's a diversified group in that list, but I'm not positive of who's going to sign.
Mr. Chairman, maybe I could ask Selectman Green. So there is a procedure that a community could ask for a minority list, but I don't believe we'd qualify for that because we do have, apparently, according to the state, a sufficient number of minorities in our department. So I think we are just dealing with the list of residents that we have.
But we can continue to give preference to veterans, is that correct? Because I know that that's been a source of attracting minority candidates.
Yes, that list will come out of civil service. When we call for the list, they will give us any veterans that are on the list, and they will be at the top of the list.
They will have already been given the requisite number of bonus points when they appear on the list. They'll have already gotten that benefit.
I guess I was also thinking of outreach efforts to make sure that people are aware of the upcoming civil service list and procedures, steps to be taken. I don't know if that's in our hands or whether that's...
Well, I think for this list, it's too late. I mean, the test has already been taken. And
I'm thinking more, looking forward.
Going forward, yeah. I think we should and can do a better job letting people know when the next exam is. I know the civil service department does do that as well. They put a lot of ads out before an entry exam happens throughout the state.
And also, you know, the police department makes some effort to sort of raise its profile at the high school to try to attract, you know, local kids at the high school into the process to become policemen. That's another area where I think, you know, we can be a little more proactive to, sort of whip up interest among high school students in being firemen. I mean, everyone wants to be a fireman when they're 5.
Well, I want to thank you for being so diligent about this, since it's going to take us a couple of months to get these trainees, hopefully future Brookline firefighters, in the queue and ready to serve. And I have every expectation that these new firefighters will live up to the high standard that you and your colleagues have set. So I am excited about starting the process, and hope that we can vote tonight to get the ball rolling.
Okay, any other comments or questions? So I'll move that we authorize the filling of 10 firefighter vacancies. All those in favor, please say aye. Selectman Daley?
Aye.
Selectman Franco?
Aye.
Selectman Heller?
Aye.
Selectman Green?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Thank you,
Okay,
Chief.
thank you very much.
By the way, I'd like to add that the list of firefighter essential tasks is fascinating. One never knows, you know, all the things that firefighters have to be capable of doing, but
Quite a few of them.
that was interesting reading.
Okay, thank you.
We were having a little discussion earlier about one of our elevators that has the tendency to get stuck. And I was commenting that some of your firefighters got me out when I was stuck in that elevator, and I was very grateful for their help. I guess the new policy, though, is to wait for the maintenance company to come along. So I'm glad I didn't have to wait that long. You guys got me out in about 10 minutes.
Yeah, a lot of damage can happen in the meantime, that's the problem.
Yeah.
To answer a question of Selectman Green, we're in the process of filing for a grant to go to the high school and sort of run, almost like the police department does with citizens, where we'll take 10 students from the high school and bring them in and run them through almost like a camp of what it's like to be a fireman for people that are interested. So that is something that we're trying to get a grant for right now, in the process of doing.
Great. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Good luck.
Good idea.
Next item is question of authorizing the filling of one vacancy in the Assessors Division. Mr. McKay.
Yes, thank you, Chairman Wyszynski. I'm Gary McCabe, the Chief Assessor, and thank you for putting this authorization to hire request on your agenda for tonight. We have a need to hire a principal clerk in the Assessor's Office, our only full-time clerical position, due to the retirement of Donelda Hingston, who's been serving the taxpayers of Brookline in the Assessor's Office since 1987. And we're going to miss her very much. She's very good at her job. It'd be tough shoes to fill indeed. But we'd like to start that process with your authorization. We hope to start the process, if allowed, as early as next week to post the position first internally for AFSCME union clerical staff already employed by the town, and looking for a qualified candidate among that group of applicants. And then the second step would be to go externally to look for additional candidates. Donelda Hingston's last day is September 30th.
Selectman Daley.
No, I just want to say Donalda's been one of the people in town who's always been so pleasant to deal with, and I think we're all going to miss her.
We are, yes, I agree. Thank you.
Any other comments, questions? And I presume if you go the external step, you'll be taking steps to attract a diverse, as diverse a pool as you can?
Absolutely, very much so. Thank you.
I'll therefore move that we approve the authorization of filling one vacancy in the Assessors Division. All those in favor, please say aye. Selectman Daley?
Aye.
Selectman Franco?
Aye.
Selectman Heller?
Aye.
Selectman Green?
Aye.
Chair votes aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we have a couple of interviews for commission appointments. The first one is Enid Shapiro for the Diversity, Inclusion, and Community Relations Committee. Come on up, join the party.
Actually, I'm looking to be reaffirmed
Right.
for another term, and I'm hoping that the selectmen will think positively about my participation.
Why don't you bring the mic, why don't you tell us about your interests on the commission and what you hope to accomplish should you be reappointed?
Well, I don't know whether I'll accomplish it alone, but I'll certainly try to work with the other members of the commission to make it as successful in its activities. Unfortunately, last year I had several bouts of illness, and so I was not present as many times as I would have liked. But I'm looking forward to being available for all of the sessions this year. I have some legacy with the commission because I've been on the commission for, I think, 6 years at this point.
You were on the predecessor.
I was on the predecessor, the previous commission, and I was eager to participate mainly because I felt I could bring some information to the commission in terms of procedure, and I think that was true. We had a slow start for a variety of reasons, but I think we have a number now of committees that are working very successfully, and hopefully we'll be able to fulfill the obligations of the commission for the selectmen's approval.
Any questions?
Do you have any questions, Ray?
Selectman Green?
Give us some sense of what you think the challenges facing the commission are and how you contribute to addressing those challenges.
Well, I think the challenges are working together. That's been the big issue, it seemed to me, when I was present. It took a while for us to be working together as a commission, committed to the same obligations that we were asked to perform from the beginning. And I think we've gotten to that. We now have some working committees, and people are committed to upholding what the selectmen would like us to do. My particular interest is seeing some of the young people in town involved in sharing their ideas, and also the ideas of the town's ideas about getting everybody in the community together on looking to develop the most successful commission in the Commonwealth. I don't know whether that defines exactly what we're about, but I'm particularly interested in working with the schools and with the young people in town so we can educate them about what diversity really means and how we can include members of all the local groups in town in our activities.
Selectman Heller?
I just want to comment that people should know how amazing you are, your energy and your commitment to the things that you get involved in. And I think it's, we won't talk about age because supposedly that's not so
I'm happy to talk about
right.
age.
But you are amazing. And
well, thank you.
As someone who's getting up there, I hope to be exactly like you.
That's quite a compliment.
I'm
really
sure you're
glad
younger than I
came
am,
out
so.
tonight. I'm hardly a kid. I think you all, most of you know that I'm 91, and I keep falling down, but somehow I keep getting up. Thank you. And I really do love this town. I went to high school in this town, and I thought it was a really great beginning. It gave me the start that I needed. Some of you know about my involvement in the community, and I think it has to do with the kind of people who live in Brookline and are committed to making this one of the best towns.
Selectman
Well,
Daley?
I am delighted to see you continuing to give your expertise and your energy to the town. Thank you. But I just wanted you to say a couple words about, I know you're a social worker, that's your
Exactly.
background. And
Once a social worker, always a social worker.
but you also, I know, were for many years, you were taking some trips to South Africa on a program that I think that brings a little something to this diversity committee. I wonder if you could say
Well,
a little
perhaps
bit.
it does. Actually, 2 years ago, I went with 3 other social workers to teach in Cape Town, in one of the townships. And I will share with you that I'm going on a very interesting trip the very beginning of November to Ethiopia. And I'm hoping that I'll be able to bring back some of the observations that I'm able to make with the group that I'm going with about the communicate what's going on in Ethiopia about helping. Right now, there have been, just recently, within the last couple of weeks, the Israeli government has approved the transportation of 9,000 Ethiopians into Israel, which is a way for communities to help other communities, and I hope it'll be a model in some way, and some of the information on that trip will help us to look at the immigration problems a little differently in Brookline as well as in every place else. So, but it does make a difference when you see what's happening on the ground in other places. And perhaps we can employ some of that in solving some of the immigration problems.
Selectman Green?
Yeah, I second the comments about the energy that you bring to the commission as the board's designee to the commission. I observed that during the time that you're there, and I appreciate the thoughtful contributions you make. I would hope that, I didn't realize that you had spent time in Cape Town in one of the informal settlements doing education work. I'd hope that you'd bring some of those what you learned from that experience into the commission to maybe give some insight into some of the issues we're dealing with here.
I try.
I mean, I've been,
It's not always easy.
and I've been to South Africa a couple of times, and I can see how we can learn an awful lot about the experiences that they're having there with issues of diversity, issues of how do you incorporate and include people who are sort of outside or have been outside the mainstream. It's not our situations are completely different, but there are some small things we can learn from that, and I hope you bring those little insights into the commission.
Well, thank you. I certainly think you've contributed to the commission in a number of ways that I have found very helpful.
Well, thank you, but I'm not being...
You're not being... May as well get the compliments, too.
You don't have to say anything good about me.
Why not?
Anything else?
When somebody says something good about you, Bernard, you just say thank you very much.
Well, thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Well, thank you
to
for serving.
participate.
Next one up is Tom Nally for reappointment to the Economic Development Advisory Board, EDAB.
Thank you,
Tell
Mr.
us
Chairman.
what you've been up to.
Tom Nally, 17 Cushing Road. This is an exciting time to be a member of EDAB. We are stepping back to look at the big picture of planning and development in the town. We've convened a couple of meetings over the last year or so, bringing together different boards and members of the community to discuss what we can do to make the process better. And I hope to continue to work on that in the future. Most recently, with two of my EDAP colleagues, I've served on the River Road Study Committee with our eminent chair. And we've been developing a proposal for an overlay zoning district for the industrial island along Brookline Avenue, Washington Street, and River Road, which will be before town meeting this November. I served on the architecture subcommittee and helped to develop a series of guidelines, which we hope will be adopted by the planning board, which will help to guide future development on this site. In the past couple of years, I represented EDAB on a number of other ad hoc committees, on the Design Advisory Committee for the new hotel at 111 Boylston Street. I also worked with a group looking at the redesign of the small open space at the corner of Washington Street and Harvard Street, which I think has been a successful addition to the town. In addition to the ongoing contributions that I hope to make in the River Road area and rethinking the work on the planning and development process for the town, I hope to be involved in future development opportunities that come along Boylston Street, which is along the edge of my neighborhood. I was very pleased to be involved with the MIT group, Course 11360, which I am an alumnus of from many years ago in architecture and planning at MIT. And I'm very pleased to see that my younger colleagues from MIT are continuing to make a contribution. And I hope to continue to make a contribution if reappointed along these lines. Thank you.
Yeah, and EDAB has been a very active committee, has done a lot of really wonderful things to enhance not only our tax base but the town. And a project that EDAB has been had worked on, Brookline Place, is going to be starting construction real soon. So that's a real achievement. Many years and many people being involved with EDAB leading. So
I was involved early on. They had a number of different design review committees, and I was involved in the first one actually on that site.
Right. And I'll give a plug to another organization that Mr. Nally is the president of, the Greater Point Neighborhood Association, which is having its annual block party this Saturday at 4:30 over on Jamaica Road. So I'll just plug that.
Thank you so much. Another eminent member of our board of directors happens to be sitting at that table.
Right. Any questions for Mr. Nally? Selectman Daley.
I do have one question, and I have expressed some of my concerns in this area to Selectman Franco before, so I hope I'm not blindsiding him by bringing it up again. But I certainly agree that if you redevelop that whole industrial island, that it would enhance the tax base of the town. But that's the only place in town, I think, that is zoned industrial now.
I think there's
So
one
there-
or two others, but not many. And they're
Yeah,
small.
so it's in terms of living in the town, and I happen to get my car repaired there. I also buy ice or propane from Brookline Ice and Coal, and even the number of gas stations in town has dwindled dramatically in the years I've lived in Brookline. And it's getting harder and harder to do things like that in Brookline. And so I'm a little concerned that while I will grant you it certainly does enhance the tax base, but from a quality of life point of view, I'm not sure I'm thrilled with potentially seeing, I realize the zoning you guys have worked on does not necessarily mean those businesses disappear, but I would think that the end result might be that.
So
And-
not only does the zoning not kick anybody out, it makes provisions that all of those businesses can stay should more intense development occur. So if a 5-story building is built to replace the current 2-story building, Brooklyn Ice and Coal, the veterinary hospital, the automotive uses would be have a place in those new buildings. So there is provisions to allow for the existing businesses to remain, as you will see when we have a hearing on that proposed zoning article.
Okay. Thank
And I will add.
But I
my-
just want to ask your thoughts on how you balance, you know, the desire for more tax revenue with sort of a need to have some services for people who live here.
Well, my dog is actually serviced at the vet there too, so a lot of people have connections. The expectation is, as Selectman Franco said, that some of those businesses may choose, maybe not the car repair shop, but some of the other businesses may choose to stay there. Some of them are tenants and some of them are owners, and that makes for a different kind of decision-making process. And clearly, it would be great to relocate, if necessary, some of those businesses to other locations in town that might be possible. But in terms of quality of life, it depends on how you define quality of life. Because clearly, this is an opportunity to enhance the residential atmosphere in the housing across the street and make it some better sites to look at. Certainly a revenue opportunity for the town. And an opportunity to really just enhance the gateway image as we've been talking about as people enter and leave the town. And I think it's important to look at the bigger picture, but you're absolutely correct. I suspect that many of those businesses are not going to go away anytime soon, simply because we've discovered that the site is a very difficult series of sites to develop. And we've tried to craft the zoning and the design guidelines in such a way as to encourage appropriate development there, but there's no guarantee that's going to happen. Depends on what the market is. We've tried to incentivize the market, but again, it's a very challenging site for all sorts of reasons.
Any other? Selectman Franco?
I'll just pay Mr. Nally a compliment that he and I have had the opportunity to work together for the past 8 months on this River Road Study Committee. And I think we've ended up in a good place. And it was largely to Tom's credit. As some of us may know, Tom is employed by A Better City, a big player, a big thinker in how Boston is developed. And he's the director of planning for that organization. And his selfless volunteerism in coming and helping us out in Brookline on EDAB, I think, is sort of an example of the way that these committees are supposed to work. We're supposed to avail ourselves of people's professional skills, what they do between 9 and 5, and have them come and help us out through volunteer service in town. And Tom's involvement with A Better City generally, and I think specifically with the project he's particularly engaged with on Dorchester Avenue in South Boston, really paid dividends for us as we thought about how we wanted the industrial island to function going forward. And he brought some innovative and very effective design principles that I think you'll see in the warrant article and the design guidelines when we go through them in a little bit more detail in a couple of weeks.
I am pleased to have the opportunity to offer my experience to whatever I can to help the town, because, you know, I'm a resident who wants to see it improve.
Any other comment, questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. We have, we've noticed two public hearings for 8 o'clock. It's now 5 of 8. I'm going to move up a short item to get us to 8 o'clock. So I'm going to go out of order to item 13, question of establishing the following committees, tobacco control and tree protection. And these came out of referrals at the last town meeting. One was referring a warrant article on increasing the difficulty of buying tobacco, especially for younger kids. and another is protecting trees on certain properties under certain conditions. Mr. Kleckner?
Yes, as you pointed out, the town meeting did authorize the board to appoint. So our procedure would be to initially create an advertisement so that we could generate some applicants. The board may have other applicants that they want to put forward, but that would be the first step.
Okay, so I guess the vote I'll be looking for is to establish the two committees so we can get them going. The tree protection warrant article referral has a report to the 2017 spring annual town meeting, and the tobacco in the tobacco article, the referral wanted some sort of action or an update by the spring town meeting. So, and then I believe, yes?
Yeah. And something like this where, a committee could really get way off the reservation and end up really producing nothing useful. I think it's probably useful for us to come up with a charge.
Yes,
That
yes.
would give some guidance.
Right, and we will do that when we appoint the members.
Okay.
And it's in the memo.
Okay.
So, yeah, definitely, and the charge will be really, it'll be taken from the subject matter of the warrant articles too. So, and I understand Selectman Daley has volunteered to be the liaison and chair, I guess, of the tobacco subcommittee, and same for the tree committee, and that's Selectman Heller. Lucky you. That should be interesting. So the vote is to establish the following committees: tobacco control and tree protection, with the understanding, this is not part of the vote, the understanding is that the charge would be set upon appointment. All those in favor, please say aye. Selectman Daley?
Aye.
Selectman Franco?
Aye.
Selectman Heller?
Aye.
Selectman Green?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Okay, so by my clock, it's 8 o'clock. And the first public hearing is on the petition of NStar Energy Company, doing business as Eversource Energy, for permission to construct and a location for such line of conduits, manholes with necessary cables in the under the following public way: Euston Street, conduit westerly from St. Mary's, a distance of 612 feet to 132 Carlton Street, with one new manhole, and St. Mary's Street, conduit easterly from Euston, a distance of 28 feet to an existing manhole. Mr. Ditto.
Yes, good evening. NSTAR is looking to install new conduit in Houston Street and a small portion of St. Mary Street, and it's to feed 132 Carlton Street, which is a children's hospital patient facility. We did give out notice as to all the abutters as required by state law. I did get a complaint back from the resident at 3 Houston Street. Her name is Elizabeth Lee Hood, and she is concerned about a rat problem. Evidently, there are a few rats around her resident, and also the residence behind hers, which fronts on St. Mary Street. So I want to make sure the board's aware of that notice.
Did you notify the health department of that?
She did, and the health department's been down there, and I haven't had a chance to see what they came back with their findings, but Ms. Lee Hood did hire an exterminator to plant poison and kill the rats. How effective that is, I really don't know. But as far as the installation of the conduit itself, we do have a representative from Eversource here to answer any questions the board may have.
So these are new conduits, so the...
These are new conduits.
Okay. So, baiting isn't going to, since they're new, there's nothing existing to bait, like,
Yeah, in this operation, but what we typically do is we bait the sewer and manhole structures in the proximity to the construction.
and will that happen here?
I made that suggestion to the representative. I'm assuming they'll go along with that.
And, but it would be our water division that would be doing the baiting of the sewer, right?
In our contracts, we put that onus on the contractor itself.
Okay. So will that be in the contract, or?
That can be on your vote to have Eversource bait the manholes as part of the permit.
Okay, that sounds fair.
Maybe a representative from Star can tell us why we need to run new conduit to a building that's already got service. Are you increasing the amount of service?
Yes, basically it's an upgrade.
Okay. And why can't the new wires go through the existing conduit? Why does there have to be new conduit laid in the street?
Well, it's my understanding they're upgrading the service to 132, and part of this conduit is also going to upgrade the area. So they're basically going to do it all at once.
Okay.
Any other questions from the board? This is a public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak on this, come on up. Identify yourself and your address and tell us what's on your mind.
Thank you. Hi. So I'm Elizabeth Lee Hood. Thank you so much for mentioning my concern. So I'm a resident of 3 Euston Street, and we just identified that due to what we believe is a source emanating from 49 St. Mary's Street, which is just adjacent to us, they haven't been disposing of their trash properly, and they also had an abandoned couch that it seems that rodents nested in and had unfilled rat holes underneath it in the back. So residents of our building who live toward the back of the building discovered that, and so we did call an exterminator, and we're trying to deal with it, but it has been a significant problem. So as soon as we identified it, I called and spoke with Miranda Corbine at the Brookline Department of Public Health, and she said that she would come out the same day. So that was last Wednesday, the 31st. She identified that there was indeed a significant enough problem that she left notices on the doors of the different neighbors in the area, not just ours, letting people know what measures they needed to take, et cetera, in order to control the problem. I can say our family has been there since 47. My neighbor's here from 5 Euston since 51. I don't remember hearing, I mean, I wasn't here since then, but I don't remember ever having a problem of this type with rats like this. I mean, once in a while there's a mouse and it gets taken care of really quickly. So we are quite concerned that with digging in the street, that could really kick up rodent activity. And they're very aggressive. They chewed through one of our doors, which now we put a metal plate over. So that was really concerning because we've never known of having a rat come inside. So until the Department of Public Health comes back and does an inspection and can certify, as they did identify a problem, if they can identify there's no longer that problem, we would be really concerned to have that work go forward. But when it does go forward, if and when, if it seems to be necessary, we'd like to request that there be preventive measures taken before, during, and after, whatever those might be. You mentioned about baiting, and I didn't know if you were referring to baiting for rodents, because I don't understand the terminology, or if you were talking about something totally different.
Yeah, baiting for rodents.
Okay.
Where traps or poison are put into the sewers, which is a breeding ground.
We did have an incident, and it might be because we're at the corner of St. Mary's in Euston, our building, but we had an incident where there had been a bunch of work that was being done in the street and like shaking the building for quite a while. And we noticed we had one time when we had a surge of those larger cockroaches appear in our basement, which again, we don't have roaches, we're very meticulous, and so that got taken care of very quickly because I think it was just something because of the construction. But that's also a reason that we're concerned about this. So we just wanted to voice that, and thank you in advance for your consideration.
Let's just ask Mr. Ditto. You mentioned that sometimes in the contracts we do ask the contractor to do the baiting in the sewers. what about the cockroach issue, though? Have we ever asked anybody, is there something that can be done about that? Have we ever asked anyone to do
Yeah, that's
something
a
like
little
that?
new to me. I haven't heard that before, but I would imagine there is some kind of poison that we can.
Yeah. I
put
mean,
in
I
it.
think we have to work carefully with the health department, because you don't want to kill people's pets and things, so poison out on, not in the sewers, but out on top, we have to be careful how we're doing it, but I think we should consult with the health department on that.
Absolutely.
Selectman Green and then Selectman Heller.
Am I understanding this correct, that there are really two problems? Number one, the potential problem of rodent infestation as a result of the digging by NSTAR. And number two, the rodent infestation from neighbors who don't properly dispose of trash and other items.
That's the way I
Right,
understand
that's
it.
the way
The baiting by NSTAR is just one half the problem. Have we addressed the other half?
Well, the health department's been out there. I assume they've cited the people that,
Right.
I mean, is there an update on that?
I don't have one, wasn't aware of it, but I will find out. From what I gather, there has been a health department agent out who has.
is the couch still there?
I have to say, so the couch isn't there.
You have to come back to the microphone, sorry.
I'm grateful to you for bringing that up about the neighbors, because we really have a concern based on our past experience too with the neighbor with other things about not necessarily following up and keeping things up the way they need to be. So we are very concerned about how this is monitored. So for example, the Brookline Department of Public Health Representative Miranda Corbine was out there on Wednesday, the 31st. On Saturday, we noticed the trash was overflowing. It wasn't properly placed out there. There were still the couch had been removed, but there were still rat holes that hadn't been filled at that time. So we took photos and sent it along with our concern that we sent in about the digging that is being proposed. So, but we're very concerned because we're not really capable of monitoring that property. And we don't know, I did mention in my email there that I was wondering if there was any help that they could provide, or maybe it's the Department of Public Works, just to make sure that somehow that's gotten under control, because that does seem to have been the
Yeah.
source.
Yeah,
Well, I think it is the public health department, but
Yeah.
we'll ask
Yeah.
Mr. Kleckner to follow up with them and make sure that they're giving it a priority.
Yeah, and if you see something, just report it to the health department, and don't be shy about it.
Okay, thank you.
Selectman Heller.
I'm wondering whether this work, if there is sufficient baiting in the manholes, the sewers, will actually help rather than hurt the problem. Because rats don't always know the boundaries. They don't know they're supposed to stay over on this piece of property and they're not supposed to go to that manhole. And so you may actually end up killing some of the rats, with the baiting that you're going to be doing. I would think that it might be a good thing that that this work go forward, as long as there is the proper pest control measures along with it.
Yes, it will certainly increase the area of treatment beyond just her house.
Right.
So, what is an appropriate condition on the permit that would cover the baiting?
Something to the effect that permit is conditioned on the requirement that Eversource hire a licensed exterminator to install poison in the manholes in proximity to the construction.
Right. As recommended by the
Department of Public.
Department of Public Health. Add to that.
I think you have another member of the public.
Oh,
who wants to
we have
speak.
another. Sure, come on up.
Hi, I'm Chester Liu from 5 Houston Street, so neighbor of Liz, and I just wanted to reiterate what she was saying, because though we haven't had rats in the building, did notice like rat burrows in our backyard and stuff, which ended up taken care of too, but, so there is that concern about ensuring that as part of the contract with Eversource and Star, that they do, hire exterminator for the baiting and stuff. Also, as our property, actually, I can see under the deck, so just wanted, also mention, yeah, the couch has been removed. I believe either yesterday or today, they actually did fill in the rat holes under the deck.
Good.
But there is still that issue about not giving the rodents any food sources.
Yep.
So it's specifically 49, but I also noticed even BU's dumpsters in the back there. The rats have chewed through the plastic covers on top, so they get into that too. So yeah, it's definitely an issue. The other, if it's all right, I also wanted to ask N-Star some questions about the work that we're doing on the street, as far as.
Well, direct the questions here. And
Okay, yeah, sorry. Specifically, as far as, are they gonna be trenching the whole street, and also the schedule of what they, of the work, length of time and when they start and end?
Sure.
Hi, I'm Sheila Gillis, Eversource. When they dig the street, they'll only dig so much at a time. They don't open the whole street up all at once. I'm not sure when they're gonna start yet, because we are waiting for some paperwork from the customer. So it's not a matter of, we're just going out next week or something. That I don't know.
Are you anticipating road closures?
I don't believe so, no, because we're basically on one side of the street.
Okay, and it'll be done during normal business hours. You won't be requesting, night work or anything like
No.
that?
No.
Okay. So, we don't know when it's starting.
Right now, no. We
Okay.
don't know.
So I noticed in the cover note that accompanied the paperwork for the public hearings that there's mention of some relocation of service from the St. Mary's Street Bridge, the overpass that project that you appeared before us about 3 or 4 months ago. And I remember that during that previous hearing, there was some conversation about interruptions to the fire call boxes, and I'm wondering if that comes into play with this work as well. And if it does, what provisions are being made to make sure that the automatic alarm, the call boxes, maintain a connection to the fire department, so a public safety emergency can be reported.
Yeah, we won't be affecting any of the call boxes. This is a straight shot from St. Mary Street down Houston into 132.
Okay.
Any other questions, public comment? Yes, sir.
Yes. Also wondering, because I wasn't aware that that 132 Carlton Street had been purchased or by Children's Hospital as a patient facility. Do you know anything about that?
It's residents, I believe.
Yeah, currently it used to be John Silber's house. The former president of BU's passed away. So
my understanding is that it's going to be housing for the families of long-term patients at Children's Hospital.
Right.
That's what I heard, I think, about
Yeah,
a
that's
year
what
or
I-
18 months ago.
That's what I heard.
Oh,
Kind of
okay.
like Ronald McDonald House.
Oh,
kind of
okay,
thing.
yeah, that's what I thought it might be. Then I guess the other question for Eversource would be what the current electrical service requirements are, and then what's the planned increase as far as like usually like service panels, they have usually like 200 amp service. So I'm not quite sure what's changed with that. So.
You talking about as far as the property?
Yeah.
Yeah, either you have it or you don't. If you have it, give
I
it to
don't-
them
I don't have
afterwards.
that.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions, any other testimony from the public? Questions from the board?
Yeah, I just want to say, Mr. Kleckner, when you communicate with the health department on this issue, can you ask them to to get in touch with Boston University and make sure that if some of their dumpsters have been chewed open or something, they've got to replace them.
Absolutely.
And
I made a note of that.
yeah, okay, thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to move that we grant the location with the condition, the baiting condition I stated earlier. So the motion is to grant the petition of NSTAR Energy Company, Electric Company doing business as EnerSource Energy for permission to construct and a location for such a line of conduits and manholes with the necessary cables therein under the following public way: Houston Street conduit westerly from St. Mary Street, a distance of 612 feet to 132 Carlton Street with one new manhole, and then St. Mary Street conduit easterly from Houston Street with a distance of 28 feet to manhole 4590, conditioned on the hiring an exterminator with the language I said earlier, with the advice of the Department of Public Health. All those in favor, please say aye. Selectman Daley?
Aye.
Selectman Franco?
Aye.
Selectman Heller?
Aye.
Selectman Green?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item is a public hearing on the petition of Crown Castle NG East LLC for permission to construct in a location for such a line of conduits and manholes with the necessary cables under the following public way: Pond Avenue, conduit westerly and southerly from two manholes near the intersection of Washington Street, a distance of 140 feet with two hand holes? Is that the right word?
Yes, handhold. Yeah.
Okay, to a new town streetlight pole with relocated new 4B-27. Someone's going to tell me what that means, right? Mr. Ditto.
Sure. The reason Crown Castle is here tonight is, as part of the Emerald Necklace Crossing, we had to reconfigure the light system layout down there, and a light pole that they had one of their nodes on was moved to the other side of Pond Avenue.
So this is the DAS?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So their node in that area is basically gone until they can run conduit and then tie it into the new location of the light pole, which is across the street, almost opposite the down ramp from the Jamaica Way. But we have a representative here from
So this
Crown
is going to
Castle.
help provide cell service,
Continue it.
continue around the Brook House in that area?
Correct. Correct.
Okay, that I understand. Yes, sir, why don't you introduce yourself?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Kosta Jovanovic. I'm the Government Relations Manager for Crown Castle here in New England. I was last before this board in September 2008 when we received our master license agreement to operate our DAS system within the town. And that was under the name of NextG Networks of New York. Crown Castle is the successor to NextG Networks of New York. So at the request of the town, we need to relocate that light. The replacement light is going to be of a new style that's going to match the new streetscape, and the equipment will be like for like. It'll be a slim line cabinet mounted alongside the pole with a cylinder antenna on top.
What about height of the equipment? Are you proposing to increase the height, or is it going to stay sort of exactly how it is today, just swapped onto a new pole?
It's just a swap.
Any other questions? Any members of the public wish to speak on this? Okay, this seems pretty straightforward to me. Therefore, I will move that we grant the petition of Crown Castle NG East LLC for permission to construct in a location for such a line of conduits and manholes with the necessary cables therein in the following public way: Pond Avenue, conduit westerly and southerly from two manholes near the intersection with Washington Street, a distance of 140 feet, with two handholds to a new town street light pole with relocated node B-27.
4B.
Oh, 4B, oh, okay. All those in favor, please say aye. Selectman Daley?
Aye.
Selectman Franco?
Aye.
Selectman Heller?
Aye.
Selectman Green?
Aye.
Chair votes aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, right. I'm going to take the next item out of order, and this is the letters for 1299 Beacon Street and 384 Harvard Street, the 40B projects. Ms. Steinfeld?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Allison Steinfeld, Planning Director. As the board may recall, you conducted 2 public hearings a few weeks ago on applications for project eligibility letters submitted to state subsidizing agencies. Upon issuance of those letters, each of the applicants may then apply to the town for comprehensive permits. One application is for 384 Harvard Street, which is submitted by JCAG, Jewish Community Housing for the Elderly, and the other one has been submitted by Raj Dahanda for 1299 Beacon Street. Following those public hearings, you gave me direction on what to incorporate in draft letters. I prepared those draft letters that are before you now. I'll be glad to go through each of them if you like, or happy to incorporate your comments. I must submit these letters essentially simultaneously to the respective subsidizing agencies on Friday. So there is time to make comments and for me to incorporate those changes if you like.
So let's talk first about 1299. To me, this project is way out of context. I think it's probably of the group of 40Bs that are before us now. To me, this one is the one that is way out of context, too big. It's cramming 14 floors into an 18 square foot lot. It potentially cutting off a means of egress to a neighboring property. I'm concerned about safety issues on Sewell Avenue. The parking scheme is, I think, unsustainable. Calls for 24-hour valet with mechanical parking, access to the parking level only by 2 auto elevators. And I think the letter that Ms. Steinfeld and staff crafted goes through all that, I think, in a very thorough way with the right tone, expressing, I'll use the word abhorrence, and really asks Mass Housing, the subsidizing agency, to please apply the guidelines that you and the other subsidizing agencies have published, because if you apply the guidelines, this project would be scaled back significantly. And there's the perspectives that were shown to us, showing how the project would tower over the surrounding properties, to me were jaw-dropping. And the perspectives are in the letter. And to me, a picture is really worth 1,000 words, and it just pops out at you that this thing is just so out of scale with everything around it. It's breathtaking.
I'll pick up where the chair left off. I think I called this project offensive when we had our public hearing, but I like the chair's word as well. I think that the paragraph at the bottom of page 4 through the top of page 5 is particularly strong and says it all to me. that this 14-story high-rise would stand in glaring juxtaposition to the to three-family or three-story commercial structures and the Victorian homes and modest multifamily complexes surrounding the proposed building. And if that's not enough, it's at the top of a hill. So the visual impact on the surrounding properties, the surrounding neighborhood, would be particularly bad and exacerbate what's already an offensive, a terrible situation.
May I make a comment?
By all means.
I agree with what both Chairman Wyszynski and Selectman Franco have said. This is an incredibly egregious proposal. It's awful. And one of the things, though, that I think, and the letter I think that you've drafted and staff have drafted here is quite strong. And I'm happy to see you take on Mass Housing's guidelines, because that is what it's about, and it should be. That said, I would also urge you to add in the summation part of the letter, to add more about the safety issues, because those stick out incredibly in this particular project. The Sewell Avenue just cannot handle this, and I think that we've got to make that point as loudly and clearly as possible. And you do say it in here, there is a section on that, but I'd like it to be as well in the conclusion of the letter.
Certainly.
Selectman Green.
Yeah, I'd like to nitpick a couple things.
Please.
Okay? I think the letter is very effective. It lays out all the things that really need to be emphasized. My concern is the tone in some small areas. We are making this presentation to a state agency, and we are Brookline, a rich community complaining about affordable housing, to the state agency. So I think we have to be very careful how we sort of phrase this. And I sort of look at a few words in here, like upfront, irreparable damage, a few other things. I think we should think about whether that presents a tone that could be viewed by the state agency as maybe a little too, well, as not, something that they're going to be receptive to. Think about that. I don't know the state agency or the personnel involved, but that's sort of popped up off the paper when I read this.
With all due respect, that's the decision by the Board of Selectmen.
Okay.
I'm happy to do whatever I'm directed to do.
That's the opinion of one board selectman. The other nitpicking, really getting down to nitpicking, although this is important.
I found one typo.
Pardon me?
I found a typo.
Where's your typo?
2 sincerelys, and I just found another one.
Where's the other one?
On page 4, 8 multifamily complexes.
Okay, there's another one on page 4.
Oh, boy.
Third line from the top.
1, 2, 3.
The board is also concerned that appropriate and compliant handicap parking spaces are not being provided.
Ooh. Yeah. That's not a typo.
So some of our nitpicking, has substance.
Thank you.
Can I
Yeah.
comment? I'm less concerned. This agency has been getting a lot of these letters from us because of all the 40Bs all over town. So I think our other ones have been more fact-based. And so I'm not, it doesn't bother me to have a little outrage in this one, because this one is, way out of scale, I think. So, they've gotten other letters from us that it's not like we're doing this in every single letter, so I don't have a problem with that. My one concern was the photocopies we got, the pictures were kind of not great. The photocopy machine had, was kind of putting a whiter line right in the middle.
This is one where I think you want the color copy.
Yeah, I want to make sure they get really good pictures in the copies you send to them, not a kind of bad,
Oh, that's
I think we
absolutely
had some
very-
problems with our copy machine.
Okay.
But
Okay.
I'm quite sure there'll be high definition and color.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Copies they
Yeah.
get, yeah.
I will be submitting them on Friday by email. I've made that commitment, and then I will follow up with full packets, including a big stack of letters received from the community.
yeah, okay.
I just want to follow up on Selectman Green's comment that, about the tone being perhaps incorrect or incompatible with the image of Brookline. I think that this board in this town has a strong history of promoting affordable housing in town. And that affordable housing has to be responsible, it has to match the goals of the community, and it has to work from a public safety perspective, a traffic perspective, and a broader community planning perspective. We've done a great job with promoting affordable housing on Beale Street, a recent project. There's going to be a grand opening of that partnership between the town and the Pine Street Inn, I believe in 2 or 3 weeks. I believe Mass Housing helped us out with the expansion of the Dummer Street Brookline Housing Authority property, another success, and the St. Aidan's project, which we completed now 7+ years ago, I think is another example of this board, this town's decision to promote, to accept affordable housing in cases where it's respectful not only of the town, but also of the future residents. The reason that this board has been engaged in conversations with not only Mass Housing, but Mass Development, a number of the other 40B development funding agencies, is because we're getting requests to advance projects that frankly just don't match with the town, the realities of the situation in the town, and do things like propose a 14-story building in a neighborhood where there's no building even remotely approaching 14 stories, or try and shoehorn far too many units into a small lot where you need car elevators to simply get cars up and down, or propose projects that try and cram as many residents into a small lot, and people are living on top of one another, and the unit sizes and the layout of the units just simply doesn't make sense. It's clearly an attempt to maximize the amount of money, the amount of property that can be developed, and it just doesn't make sense for the town, it doesn't make sense for the future residents, and it's our obligation to push back and point out potential problems at this stage before we end up with a building that just causes problems for the next 50, 60 years. And I think that's what we're doing with this letter in particular.
Well, I agree with that. I don't think that was in response to anything I said, though.
Yeah, but I'll second something Selectman Daley said. I think this is the 3rd or 4th letter to Mass Housing in the current cycle, in the last 3rd maybe.
Second.
Second?
One has been to Mass Development, one to Mass Housing Partnership. You're right.
This is the third.
Right.
Okay, so one was conceptually, we like the project. There's some issues that we hope the developer will work with us. That was the 1180 Boylston. The 40 Center, that one was a strong letter, but it was a very factual letter. And then this letter. So Mass Housing, and it was addressed to the same person, has received different letters from us, which differ in tone. So it's not like this is the first time they're hearing from us. So if this was the first time they were hearing from us, I would probably tend to agree with you, Selectman Green, that some of the, I don't want to characterize it as over the top, but some of the stronger language may not be appropriate. I didn't get it either. But I think I think we have a little bit of a history with the agency, but I also think that it's important for us to be clear that, you know, this is one that we just don't like. So, and really implore them in the strongest language possible, and the strongest language we think is prudent, and we can argue about is it too strong to be prudent and actually achieve our purpose of getting their attention. But I think it's important that we convey that this project is over the top. I suggested to Ms. Steinfeld that we also address it to the executive director of Mass Housing to make sure he sees our letter. And I also included, we can just talk about this, CC to our legislative delegation.
I think we should. I mean, I have actually talked to at least one member of our delegation about some of my concerns about 40B, and the answer I got was, well, people really need affordable housing, so. And
Right.
I was suggesting that they make the law, improve the law by requiring a higher percentage of affordability in the projects, for one thing, so that you would get more developers like the JCHE and less like what we
Well,
see in this project.
I had a thought. Okay, the next letter we're going to be talking about is the JCHE letter, which is a very, very different tone. And I was even thinking of suggesting to show them that we're not a knee-jerk against affordable housing or even a 40B project, that here's a project that we like, to contrast it. But I didn't make that suggestion, but maybe we should do it.
One thing we could do is say, we've had 2 other letters before you recently, and, while we have some concerns about the way this aspect of the project or that aspect of the project, et cetera, and 40 Center is a whole other story, but anyway, but at least point out that this thing has no redeeming qualities, none.
With the exception of providing affordable housing.
Right. Again, I think the tone is appropriate. I don't want to put us in a position where we're apologizing for not liking a project. It's a bad project, and that's what it is.
Selectman Green.
When I did appellate litigation, we always used to say, when you have a weak case, use strong words. And I guess that's my concern here. I think that, we make a very strong case here. And I'm just saying that, in my view, and I may be wrong, in my view, I think this could be read by the housing agency the wrong way, unless you're careful. They could come back and say, we don't care how angry you are, we need affordable housing. I don't know if they'd say that, but I mean, that's the type of response.
That has kind of been the response we've been getting on all of these when we express
we have
concerns.
to be careful that, we emphasize our strong points and not allow ourselves to sort of drift over into overstating, our view with strong words that really are not going to have an effect on the people we're trying to influence. And I think we have a very strong case here. And we can add or strengthen the case even more by emphasizing the 40Bs that we have approved with conditions, to say that, yes, we're willing to go along with good 40B projects, but this is not a good 40B project. This is completely different than all the ones that we think are helpful to the community as well as to affordable housing goals. So.
Well, I don't think it would hurt.
You do with my comments what you will.
No, I'll only do what I'm told to do.
I don't think it would hurt to put in something about, we have X number of 40Bs before us right now, and several of them we're actively supporting, some we have some concerns about, but this one is
Okay.
the worst? I don't know.
Yeah.
Is it- I will defer to your judgment because you deal with these people more than we do.
Part of what Selectman Green is saying is kind of singing to me a little bit. I think we can use a different word. On page 2, we use the word affront. We can use a different word and say the same thing and not be quite as, so selecting the site for a 14-story mixed-use development is an affront to the is inconsistent with the residential with
But,
the.
no, I think you have to say more than
Yes, it's more
inconsistent.
than-
That's too weak. That's the other,
Is outrageously
Highly inconsistent.
highly
yeah,
is
Get out your thesaurus.
yeah. Well, highly inconsistent, maybe.
Can we?
Diametrically
delegate-
opposed?
Can we delegate to,
well,
Allison, coming up with the right wording? I mean, it doesn't make sense for us to try to
yeah.
nitpick on, the words here.
So I'll work with
Okay.
Ms. Steinfeld to
Okay.
just
I
get say the same thing, but
do think, though, that we do need a little bit of that
right.
tone of
I
outrage
don't
on
want
this
to.
project.
Yeah, I don't want to change the tone. There's a phrase in here that I came up with that I was rather proud of at the
Page 7.
end. This is page 7 at the top. This project is at a crossroad, both literally and figuratively. A building at this site has the potential to be a high-profile monument to Chapter 40B. Whether it's a monument to Chapter 40B's success or excesses is in your hands.
Well, no, we certainly shouldn't change any of the chairman's words.
You can. So, okay.
So I'll be happy to do that. My only issue is,
Well,
I'm around tomorrow.
right,
Uh,
who will sign this?
Yeah.
Logistically,
Why don't the chair sign it?
Yeah.
Because then, you can,
Yeah, I'm thinking,
well, the board will be together on Thursday evening, so.
Well, I
Oh,
think we
right.
can just vote it subject to adjustments that might be
Right.
made by the chairman working with Mr. Kleckner and Ms. Steinfeld.
yeah, I was going to give the board an option of all of us signing it, but if we're going to be changing it, it makes it logistically difficult, though we could do it Thursday,
gonna
but
be
then
here
we'd have to
Thursday.
convene, kind of, we can just sign it. So, does everyone want their name on this thing?
Sure.
Sure, why not?
Okay, so Thursday
Does
night,
that
We'll
make
work
it
some-
stronger?
well, it puts you on record. I don't think it, frankly, well,
I think it says unanimous in here somewhere.
yeah, it
say
does.
unanimous.
Does it?
Hurt.
It can't hurt.
Okay, let's do it. If it makes it stronger, I vote for it.
Okay, so the motion is to,
Let's just vote it so that either you could sign it or all of us could sign it, just so we don't somehow get into some kind of
Right.
situation where it doesn't get signed on time, so she has to have it in.
so give me the motion.
Okay,
And
so,
can I think we should be consistent with what we've done in the past, if we've all signed in the past.
No, we
no,
haven't.
we haven't.
So
No.
it'd be inconsistent for us. to do it
Correct.
now,
And that's on purpose.
Okay, I'm going to move favorable action on this letter, subject to any adjustments that the chair makes with Mr. Kleckner and Ms. Steinfeld. And it would be signed either by the chair or by the full board, if we're able to do that in time.
Okay, on Selectman Daley's motion, all those in favor, please say aye. Selectman Daley?
Aye.
Selectman Franco?
Aye.
Selectman Heller?
Aye.
Selectman Green?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. And I'll also note that we've received a whole bunch of letters from neighbors and abutters that are going to be attached to this.
Correct.
let's talk about the JCHE one, which is a horse of a different color. And here the tone is one of general support, with a note that there is still some work to do on William Street, and expressing some concern about the parking and the drop-off area in the front, and asking that JCHE continue to work with us and continue to engage the neighborhood to address these outstanding issues. Any comments, discussion? Yes.
I just make or note that back in August, one of the neighbors, Drew Ames, sent us an email where the implicit question there was, is this community oversaturated with elderly housing? And he listed a number of things that that are consequences of a lot of elderly housing units in one area. And I think some of them are legit, some, maybe, he needs to get over. But I think that, you should just view that and, see whether there are things that could be required of the developer to address some of these issues. I think most of them are issues that have to do with the town making provision for example, parking for medical assistants who come to various units, things like that.
Well, that is mentioned in this letter.
I think
on
those,
page 2.
those were our
Yeah.
concerns, were the
Yeah.
parking and also the drop-off and the delivery and ambulance space right in the front. And I think those are the two main things that we were concerned about.
So I think we did mention a number of them. One thing that there's nothing we can do about it was the fire trucks, responding to medical emergencies, which I live next door to a nursing home, and that is a big issue. So maybe there's nothing we can do about it, but if there is, we should try to address it.
Well, ironically, one way that they could be addressing that is through what they're proposing as a loading area, which the board has expressed some concern about because we'll take 4 parking spaces away. So,
But they're proposing this area right on Harvard
Right on
Street, is that
Harvard, right.
correct? So that's a place where there's a lot of traffic, and so you're going to have fire trucks and who knows how many other emergency vehicles at a time trying to get into this tiny little space on busy Harvard Street.
right.
I'm not
The
sure.
alternative is William Street.
I understand, but at least maybe if they could somehow move it onto the property itself. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, that's
Oh.
going to have to be considered during the design
Right.
ZBA process. Yeah.
I just have, my only concern about this letter was that I didn't think it quite went far enough to express that we actually like this project. And so I thought on the page 2, on the second full paragraph, it says, the Board of Selectmen is concerned about the lack of sufficient parking. I think we ought to start that by saying, while supportive of the project in general, comma, the Board of Selectmen is concerned about the lack of sufficient parking. I think it's nice when these agencies do occasionally get a letter from us showing that we like a 40B as opposed to the many that we don't like. So
Yeah, I like that.
I think that, because we have a lot about our concerns and we don't really come out and say, that we actually like this one.
Okay. I think that's fair. And we're already on record as saying we like it, so that's not new.
Right.
So,
I should make note that JCHE is literally meeting with the neighborhood tonight.
cool. Good. Okay, so I will move that we authorize the chair to sign this letter as as amended. That's it. All those in favor, please say aye. Selectman Daley?
Aye.
Selectman Franco?
Aye.
Selectman Heller?
Aye.
Selectman Green?
Aye.
And chair votes aye.
And we'll put the same language about authorizing you to sign if we can't get it done.
Oh,
Well, actually,
the
just-
chair will
just
be
the
signing
chair.
this
Yeah,
one.
oh, just the chair
Just
for
the
this
chair,
one. Got
yeah.
it.
Right.
All right.
Okay.
Okay, thank
So
you
I think we're done with our 40B discussions.
for tonight.
Thank you. And last item on the agenda, but not least in any way, is the town meeting warrant.
This is the agenda item that's going to keep on giving.
Good
Ms.
evening.
Goff.
Hello. So you have the warrant that closed this past Thursday. We had 34 warrant articles filed. Before you execute this warrant, there's some housekeeping that we need to do per advice of the moderator regarding Articles 9 and 10, which are River Road Study Committee. He's suggesting that there should be some more information inserted into the warrant related to these two warrant articles. Specifically, Town Council's work today with Selectman Franco and the moderator, and we have inserted the pilot agreement as an exhibit to Article 9. It's a draft agreement at this point. And we've also inserted some language related to Article 10 that was previously in the explanation into the warrant itself. So I have a proposed vote in front of you that will allow you to waive the notice provisions in order to lift the warrant, insert these two amended articles, and then promptly close the warrant. And then we can act on the rest of it once that is done.
I just want to highlight that in both these articles, we're actually increasing the amount of information that's being provided, and it's probably more beneficial for town meeting. In no way are we actually changing the substance of the articles. It's adding additional information for town meeting's consideration at this very, very early juncture.
Okay, so the first thing we'll do is go through this procedural thingamajig. So the motion is pursuant to the authority granted in Section 2.14 of the town's bylaws, the board waives the requirements of Section 2.13 of the bylaws for the sole purpose of amending Articles 9 and 10 of the warrant for the November 15th, 2016 special town meeting as outlined by Deputy Town Administrator Melissa Goff. The warrant is henceforth closed. All those in favor, please say aye. Selectman Daley?
Aye.
Selectman Franco?
Aye.
Selectman Heller?
Aye.
Selectman Green?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. We now have a revised warrant. It still has 34 warrant
Nothing dropped
articles.
off, unfortunately. We still
Yeah.
have 34, which will be a scheduling challenge for the board and the advisory committee.
And town meeting too, right?
Yes,
Get through it in 3 nights?
we can hope, right? So we have a lot of repeat offenders for the warrant articles. I keep telling people it's like the ghosts of town meetings past. We've got tobacco control coming back, some youth
We just voted to establish a committee.
Yes, yes. And now there's some revisions proposed, I believe, by a student group related to tobacco.
Okay.
Then we have polystyrene disposable food, looking to expand the current bylaw. We have plastic bags, looking to expand the current bylaw as well. We have the zoning related to the River Road Study Committee, which we'll hear more about as we begin the warrant article review process. You had already acted to put the 10-year renewal of the DAS on the warrant as well. We have a few recommended by town council in response to a recent court case, Reed versus the town of Gilbert. 2 related to signs, 1 related to panhandling. We have 3 related to electric vehicle charging stations. We have a proposal to add a transit parking overlay district. We have a hubway warrant article, which I believe the board had already reviewed as well. We have 1 regarding manned aircraft. proposed regulations related to that. The Moderators Committee on FAR, Floor Area Ratio, has a proposed bylaw changes here as well. Also the Moderators Committee on Leaf Blowers has also 2 warrant articles, one which is trying to consolidate the leaf blower and noise control bylaw, and then another resolution related to enforcement. Pay-as-you-throw is also back. We have 2 related to town meeting approval of pay-as-you-throw, and then regulations related to the wheeled toter carts that we use for recycling and solid waste. We have a naming committee proposal for a veteran of World War II who was killed in action in France. We have some amendments to the Diversity, Inclusion, and Community Relations bylaw. We have a couple of police-related matters, one regarding dogs, another regarding online posting of police reports. We have one about town meeting and the open meeting law. We have a few resolutions, one regarding town council and the Housing Appeals Committee funding requests in order to defend town cases. We have a resolution related to tax relief for Brookline seniors, and we also have a resolution on affordable development and using air rights in Brookline parking lots. So
That's quite a mouthful.
it is, it is.
So the challenge is going to be, at least for this board, scheduling public hearings, because it's our practice to have public hearings for each warrant article. And we're going to be starting next week with some of the perhaps easier ones. We're looking at 7 next week, starting with unpaid bills, so that one should be pretty easy and straightforward. The DAS lease, and that's we just granted a location for. These are antennas on some of our light posts. Hubway, the naming of the square for Walter Brookings, and then the sign bylaw, the reactions to the the Reed decision, and so that's what's on tap for next week. And then as the weeks go on, we'll be getting into some of the meatier warrant articles. At the same time we're doing that, we'll also be dealing with the ninth school siting, and then plus all the normal business that happens before the board. So we have our hands full. We're looking at, plus there are some holidays, Jewish holidays in October, which affect the schedule. So we're looking at potentially another meeting on a Thursday, October 13th, prior to our meeting with the school committee. That's the night that we're supposed to be considering and then voting on the site of the ninth school. So what we may be doing, we'll be firming this up in the coming weeks, is meeting before then here in Town Hall, and then going over to the high school or actually we could do the whole thing at the high school. We'll figure that out. So the 13th is likely to be a long night for us. We're going to have a few long nights. So any questions, comments? So that's a look ahead. That said, I think we've concluded our business for
But
tonight.
we need to execute.
Oh, we have to vote to approve the warrant. Oh, gosh, how can I forget that? So I'll move that we approve and execute the warrant for the special town meeting on November 15th. All those in favor, please say aye. Selectman Daley?
Aye.
Selectman Franco?
Aye.
Selectman Heller?
Aye.
Selectman Green?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye.
Thank you.
So you wouldn't let me leave without that vote. Okay, thank you. That concludes our business for tonight.